Item number 10. Okay, Michelle. Oh, sorry. Oh, what's this? Flash and Gemma, welcome.
Thank you.
Proposed exchange of reserved land. Do you want to talk through it, or the councillors okay with this, or?
I sort of think, depending on whether you want to, it's just basically a switch of land that expands to areas of reserve, expands it on the sides and provides for an access onto Crown Road to what's known as Taupo's District Council's depot site. And it's primarily mechanical, to put a notice in the paper to see what kind of feedback we'd have in relation to creating that, and then taking it through to the relevant parties to get the reserve revoked and essentially switched off.
Well,
for that part of the
I see a
site.
gentleman in the room, I'm going to use his words, the devil's advocate. Now, this bit's probably been on the market for some time.
Correct.
Okay? Now, when all the prospective purchasers looked at it, didn't have access onto Crown Road, did it?
No.
But this proposes, if this goes through here today, this gives it access onto Crown Road, doesn't it?
That's correct. So
Which leads me to another question I'm not allowed to ask because it's in the confidential section of the minutes. So I'm going to ask the councillor if we can shift this item to the confidential section, because it goes hand in glove, as O.J. Simpson said, with something else that's going on, doesn't it?
Yes and no. We believe from previous potential purchasers that this would assist in the sale of it to anybody. At least one of the other potential purchasers, that was a major sticking point for them, was the lack of access. So they never came forward with an offer, so we didn't take it any further.
Exactly, because it didn't have access, but if we do this today, it gives it access. So my point is, if we do this and we give this piece of land access, are we going to retake it back to the market? I think it should be shifted.
This wouldn't actually give it the access, it puts it out for public consultation to start the process rolling.
Okay.
I mean,
So we start the process and if the public don't say anything, it then gives it access.
Yes.
You know, you're trying to take words out of my mouth, and I've dealt with 1 or 2 properties, and some people in this room have too, and the moment you give this block of land access onto Crown Road, which is a major arterial route, I don't think I've got anything wrong yet, I think it increases its value.
I think that's a fair comment.
I was about to say, can I suggest though that this is the decision or the concern that you might have is related to the item that is in the confidential section rather than specifically to this particular part of it. So as you're talking about in terms of value, it might be something that you want to consider.
Okay, so would it be fair of me to say if we pass this now, and I'm in favour of it, that my fellow colleagues will take this into account when we discuss another item in confidence?
Of course we will.
Yeah.
We're going to anyway.
Okay? Because I think it's great to give this piece, that's a big block of land, it needs freeing up. It needs access onto Crown Road. It didn't have it, and it won't have it until we've finished this process, but we're starting the process.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, back, sorry, Councillor.
Just the actual width of the entrance, they're so tiny you can't see measurements. So is it just one lane access, or is it?
No, it'd be in
two width.
now. It's, I think it works up at 20.
The legal width is going to be 20 metres, but so that it made it an even split and made for some flexibility in putting an access in, rather than specifically defining an access point that was only 6 metres wide as per the legal requirements. The flexibility was given for that, but the controls under the district plan would manage what would be the type of access in terms of a vehicle access across that, rather than
But what Councillor's Hicklin's question is, this is very, very small, and I was, oh God, what is that figure in green? Has a
it's 20
distance?
metres.
It's 20 metres, thank you, 20 metres. And if that was freed up, that allows egress and entry to that block of land. Yep, fine. Anything further? So, the resolution, that goes to the ad hoc committee again. Would we use the same ad hoc committee, or do you want to, this obviously goes out for public consultation again?
We think that probably the public consultation will be around the same time. So potentially the same ad hoc committee
That's
would
right.
be both of them rather than...
That's what I'm asking my fellow councillor. Are you happy to use that same ad hoc committee, or does somebody else want to be on it? Or? Okay, so that was, are we going to do that with the reserve situation again?
Yeah.
Or just drop Councillor Crate off this one?
Just drop out of this one.
Yeah.
Off this one, put Chris on.
Okay, I think that's fine, yeah, I think that's fair. Is that okay? Because Councillor Craig will be looking after Kilmarnock interest, obviously. Is that all right?
So just to confirm, that's Councillors Williams, Johnson and Darmond. No reserve.
Yeah. Okay, and they have to all meet as three? You don't have a quorum in that situation? If it was on the 18th of October and on the 6th, do you go ahead with two, or what do you do in those cases?
Quorum's two, I think.
Quorum is two. So one person can be sick or something. So you sure you don't want to have a reserve?
That's fine. That's fine.
Move Councillor Downard, second please. Councillor Johnson, all those in favour? Aye. Agenda item number 11, offer to purchase 15 Timawonga Place. Station Human.
Thank you. Again, I think we can just take the item as read, unless anyone wants us to go into further detail. We've received an offer subject to the auction, as part of the auction process, for $575. Basically, we bring it to council for a yay or nay.
Can I just ask a quick question for again? Because we're council with GST registered, does GST come into any factors here?
This would be inclusive of GST because it's a residential property.
So the purchase, whoever the purchase was could claim the GST back?
If they're using it for a commercial usage, I think, and not if they're using it for residential for their own residence. Is my understanding of it.
Because I'm always one of these guys that say, you know, normally you bring figures here, it's inclusive or
Yes.
exclusive, or... Does Mr. Goldsbury want to answer the question?
Well, I think Flash has got it right. If somebody is buying it for a commercial purpose, then they're entitled to claim the GST back. If not, not.
Do we have to pay any of that? Is
Yes.
my question. So the 575, we send off the GST content away.
Is it 575 inclusive of?
That's what it says here, but what's what I'm asking, it doesn't say on the resolution.
It's inclusive. So just-
Inclusive of GST, so do we physically, when we receive the money, send away whatever 15% of GST back, do we? The answer is yes, is it? So the net result to council is in the forward somewhere,
Just like we claim the GST when we purchase.
do we?
Yes.
Okay, well, there's a suggested resolution on page 11 bar 3. If there's no further questions, etc., can I have a mover, please? Move, Councillor Truman, second. Councillor Johnson, all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Moving.
Sorry, I actually wish to comment.
Sorry,
I was
yeah, yeah.
just rather quickly on that. So have we actually moved this motion and done it? Because it was very quick, sorry.
Oh, I just asked for movement, I got Councillor Truman, I asked for a second, I got Councillor Johnson. I said there was no further comment, I think my word was it?
Yeah, it was a bit.
I'll move
so,
it.
So, am I...
Oh, yeah, I'll back up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can back up.
okay. So, in relation to this property purchase, and this is the second time we've dealt with it, I as a councillor have serious concerns with how the matter's been handled. So, I wish to abstain from voting on this, and I wish to outline my reasons why. The first one was when we discussed this matter last time, it was discussed in confidence by this council. It was not an agenda item to be discussed in confidence. The second thing is there's been clearly a breach of confidence in regards to the sale of this property, and I believe that that potentially prejudices the purchaser and also prejudices council potentially in terms of its future negotiations with regards to this property and potentially other properties in terms of how we've handled the process. So basically my issues are around transparency and natural justice, and I'll be abstaining from voting on this matter. And I think I forgot to turn my mic on because both of them say on, but I hope that that's minuted in detail, please, and I wish to abstain for those reasons.
Yeah, and your switcher should be in the up position, they've got two ons, but it's wrong. Okay, Councillor Williams.
To the contrary, I totally endorse this. I'm very, very happy to vote for this resolution, and I thank God above for allowing us to. If I was Mr. Stent, I would have said, or Mrs. Stent actually it is, I would have said, get lost, Taupo District Council. Mr. Stent, following an auction, put in an offer in good faith to this council. Now this council agreed to sell the land at the valuation provided by Beach Morrison at a value up to 10% less than that valuation. That was discussed as an item of confidence at the February meeting, and subsequent to that, we've had a total breach of confidence. We've had a total betrayal of trust because Mr. Stent has had his offer put out there in the public domain, which was between him, this council, and Ray White Real Estate. So, in other words, if he had have walked away, we'd be left with in a position where his bid's known, so we're compromised, and our valuation's known to the market. What we did have was an agreement between this council to go out to seek another valuation because there was some criticism of the valuation, that we should get an out-of-town valuation. And we did that. In the meantime, there was a public criticism of this professional local valuation firm, Beach Morrison, in the Dominion Post. There was a total breach of confidence by somebody who leaked those two prices to the Dominion Post. This is absolutely against the code of conduct, and what we've done as a council is we've laid ourselves open to a claim both by the potential purchaser, but we've also undermined the integrity of council because we have violated what was an arrangement made in good faith. So I'd like to ask our CEO to read a letter that was sent to him today by the purchaser, because I think this is a very serious matter. It's totally undermined the credibility of council with regards to future asset sales, and I think that we need to take it very seriously and actually instruct our CEO to have a review done of a violation of this breach of the code of conduct.
I'd just like Rob to advise us on that, please.
I've seen the letter that Councillor William is referring to. If it's the same letter, I presume it is. My advice to the council is that that letter requests or requires the Chief Executive Officer to start a process, and that if my advice to the council is that if that letter were now tabled before this council in public, that process would be severely compromised. What you've got to do is let the CEO take the letter and follow the process.
Councillor Williams?
I'm sort of at odds with that, Mr. Goldsberry, because the person who wrote that letter wanted to present that letter here to this council. So I don't see how that party's stance would be compromised.
The problem is that the letter requires an investigation by the Chief Executive, and it's obviously not only the person who wrote the letter whose interests need to be protected for natural justice purposes, but also any other person, and that would be the compromise, the risk that publishing it today compromises.
Councillor Williams?
Mr. Goldsberry, are you suggesting that we as a council should be protecting a person who has breached the has had a grave betrayal of trust by this council and breached a confidential item and leaked it to the media?
All I'm saying is that the letter requests the Chief Executive to start the process, and that if that letter was tabled today, then that process is at risk of compromise, not only in respect of the person who's asked for it to be processed, but also in respect of any person it addresses.
I'm sorry I'm not with you, because the person who asked for it to be processed wants it out in the public domain and has asked if he
Can I take it into a slightly different context then? And as I say, all I can do is give advice, and then the council can decide what to do. In a situation where a complaint is made, for instance, somebody was complaining about me, if that complaint was dealt with in the public, then I could challenge that process for not giving me the rights of natural justice. So that's the risk. So it's as much about a person who is complaining as about a person who might be complained about.
Okay, Councillor Henderson.
I will switch my mic on this time. My apologies to those people out there in the web who couldn't hear me or others. In relation to this, just to clarify my position, I intend to abstain, not because I necessarily disagree with the motion before us, but I disagree with the process that's been followed. And the second thing, I wish it also be a matter of record that the councillors, to the best of my knowledge, and certainly myself, have yet to view a copy of the said letter in confidence.
Well, apparently it has only been received this morning. Councillor Kepper?
Yeah, I've heard quite a bit about breaches of confidence and so on in the past and today especially. I just have a question about this breach. Is this an accusation of a breach by a governance member, by a council member, or by a staff member or whoever?
Perhaps I'm being deliberately obtuse, because anything, the councillors will see the letter in confidence, obviously, but if there's an investigation, it's clear that a complaint has been made. For the investigation to be successfully carried out by the Chief Executive Officer, the details of the complaint and who or what might be complaining about can't really be made public until he's had the chance to do the investigation.
I think that's fair comment. So I think this has been laboured on enough, so I guess we will be... Sorry?
That's my advice to you, Your Worship.
Well, we do employ you to give advice, so I guess like all consultants we should take heed. So nothing furthermore?
I'd just like to finish off by saying that I'm ashamed actually to sit on a council where this is a breach, but there's been a continuous breaches of this type, and I feel that it's just simply not good enough, and I think this council needs to actually take some immediate action to actually convince the public that it actually does have some credibility and integrity.
Well, I think the investigation should happen because this was a public auction where they attended, raised their hands, etc., did bids. I know the Dominion Post personally rung me. I know they personally rung Councillor Hackling. I've got nothing to hide with it, except by saying that we'll be getting another valuation, which is a decision we made. So I would welcome it be investigated properly, because I think we just should do the job properly. So, Councillor Henderson?
Just in reply to Councillor Kepper, nobody in particular is being accused of anything, but clearly there has been a breach because that information is out there. My concern is more with the fact there's been no response in the interim. This has happened, and we've waited for something to happen from the public rather than taking responsibility for this ourselves, collectively as a council. And furthermore, we have not been briefed at all on this matter.
Okay, that's enough on the matter. Moving now to agenda item number 13, joint management agreement with Tell me the pages. Okay, accountability documents received from councils or CCOs, council controlled organisations. There's no significant decision required. It's a matter of receiving them. You've got all the attachments from Taupo Airport Authority, LAS, which you've heard a lot about, Local Authority Shared Services, Bay of Plenty Local Authority Shared Services, we belong to two, as you know. Local Government Funding Agency 6-monthly report. You have those in a separate... Yeah. So does anybody want to comment or ask any questions pertaining to them? Okay, so the suggested resolution is at the top of page of 12/1. Council receives the 6 monthly reports, etc. The Council receives the draft statements of intent of the Airport Authority, Local Shared Services, Bay of Plenty Shared Services and the Local Government Funding Agency. So if there's no questions thereof, I'll ask for removal, please. Anybody? Councillor Johnson, second please. Councillor Kipper, all those in favour? Aye. Thank you. Okay, sorry, now it's agenda item number 13, Joint Management Agreement with whakaaro. And again, it requires the appointment of four, but then one comes down as a co-chairman and a deputy co-chairman, is that right? So have we got 4 volunteers without being nominated? Volunteer, we have Councillor Truman, Councillor Johnson, I'm going to end up with too many, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Hickling, Councillor Williams, is that 4? Any more? I need to write them down. So it was Truman, it was Johnson.
Oh, I'm prepared to
Are you?
I'll stand down, your worship.
Well, I've only got, well that means we've only got 3 then, it's Truman, Johnson, Hickling. Do I miss out? Dana, is it? So who's it, Williams or Dana?
Only if Councillor Williams doesn't want it.
No, she's too
Dana, does it?
Yep.
Dana. Okay, now who do we appoint as the co-chairman and the deputy co-chairman? Councillor Truman for as the co-chairman?
A suggestion through the chair, because it's whakaaro is primarily the main key.
Okay, you heard that suggestion. Truman?
Oh, can I be the deputy just in case I'm not there? It's fine.
You'd rather be deputy co-chairman? So who team would you suggest as your councillor, as your co-chairman? Councillor Hickling, would you? Well, we do have a deputy mayor on the...
Yeah, it does,
Yeah, but you're out on that committee there too, Barry, so I'd be happy with you to be chairman.
I am, but
Yeah.
you're not deputy mayor.
I'm happy for Councillor Hickling to be chairman because he is part of the team over there in Kirsty. Councillor Truman.
All right?
Yeah, right, and Mike.
Your worship, I've just got one comment. Be quite good if there was some, I'm quite happy to stand down, and of course there was Councillor Minchin chairing the Te Arawa Joint Management Committee. I just wondered if there should be some consistency between those committees.
In what way would you?
Because they're really, there's the Tūwhai Toa have actually become involved in that JMA with Te Arawa because they want consistency and they also want to be involved with whakaaro. And I just thought from our point of view as a council, it would be good to have consistency because basically those JMAs are set to achieve the same objectives, they're just with different parties.
One thing, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but bearing in mind there's election coming up and some people have declared they're not standing, should that affect the appointments going forward?
Yeah.
There's only about 6 months to go.
Well, in my case, I think it would be wise if one of those people who's just gone on whakaaro would like to stand in for me for Te Arawa because I think consistency is
So you
is
say
important.
you go off the whakaaro and take
The Te Arawa
and put it on?
Well, there's going to be, Mr Chairman, there's going to be 2 vacancies because Councillor Minster is going to be off here as well.
Is that really an issue for today though?
No.
another agenda
Well, I
item.
take on board what, hang on, I'll come to you, Councillor. So did I get it right? Do you want someone to replace you on the other trust?
In the interest of consistency and going forward into the next triennium, I think that would be good for...
My question to Ms Jakes is, can that actually be done here today? Because it's not actually, okay. I can take that on board, but we have to address it in a different way.
And on top of that, I'm also suggesting that in the appointment for whakaaro, we have consistency. I would recommend that the same people sit on both joint committees.
But we can take it on board, but we can't do anything about it today. Have I got it correct or not?
Can't do anything about the Te Aroha committee, and unless you know.
But bearing in mind that Councillor Williams has brought it up, can it be at the next agenda? On the next agenda, would that suit you?
Oh yeah, it's just a recommendation, Your Worship.
Yeah, Councillor Henderson.
Two things. The Arawa committee, I believe, didn't we need to reform that or at some point? Is it?
Potentially.
Yes.
Depends on the negotiations with Turangi-Tongariro and Te Aroha in terms of the boundaries.
Yep.
It might be that that committee's not required any further.
Okay. And just the second thing was to endorse what Councillor Williams was saying about, getting the mix right, and in that regard, who's going to be here later, who's on each committee, and also the skill set you actually might want on these committees, and that goes for not just this committee, it goes for all council appointments to committees.
Okay, just all we can do is note that. So there's resolution numbered 1 to 5, and the important part of the resolution is that it appoints Councillor Truman, Johnson, Heckling, Barnard to the joint committee, appoints Councillor Heckling as the co-chairperson and Councillor Truman as the deputy co-chairperson. So a mover, please. Move Councillor Johnson.